3 seconds. That's how long it took for my marriage to collapse after I pressed play on that recording. Turns out, exposing your husband's second family over breakfast is the quickest way to shut up judgmental in-laws. I didn't mean to become an amateur detective at 36. But when your husband of 12 years says he forgot his wallet in a restaurant where he just paid the check with cash, even Florence Nightingale would get suspicious. Let me back up. I'm Elsie Matthews, night shift nurse at Springfield Memorial, collector of ceramic frogs, and apparently the world's most oblivious wife. Last Thursday's dinner at Hazel's Diner was supposed to be our monthly reconnection night. That sad little tradition where married couples pretend they still have things to talk about. The waitress Veda had been overly attentive to Silas all evening, touching his shoulder while refilling his coffee, laughing too hard at his mediocre jokes about hospital bureaucracy. "Hey babe, wait in the car. I think I left my wallet at the table," Silas said, jingling his car keys at me like I was a toddler distracted by shiny objects. I'd watched him pay the bill with cash and tuck his wallet into his jacket pocket, not his back pocket, before we got up to leave. "Sure thing, honey," I answered with the practiced smile of someone who's spent 12 years swallowing their instincts. As his Brooks Brothers silhouette retreated toward the diner's neon sign, I made a decision that would have made my cautious mother drop her pearls. I followed him. Not immediately. I'm not completely amateur hour. I counted to 60, watching his confident stride through the restaurant's plate glass windows. Then I slipped my phone out, opened the voice recorder app, hit record, and tucked it into my jacket pocket. "Just forgot my sweater," I told the teenage host who barely looked up from his phone as I re-entered. The restaurant was that quintessential American diner, all vinyl booths and nostalgic memorabilia, where the coffee's always burnt and the pie's always fresh. I spotted them immediately in the corner booth, the furthest from the windows. How convenient. "I can't keep doing this, Silas," Veda was saying, her voice tense but hushed. "Lily asked me yesterday why her daddy doesn't live with us like her friends' parents do." "Lily? Who the hell was Lily?" I slid into the adjacent booth, hidden by a partial wall covered in vintage license plates. A prop menu became my shield as I strained to hear every word that was about to demolish my reality. "I told you, I'm working on it," Silas replied in that smooth, reassuring tone he used when telling hospital billing departments that their mistakes weren't their fault. "But Elsie's been through a lot with her mom's cancer last year. I can't just drop this on her now." Oh, how considerate. Using my mother's death as an excuse to postpone his confession. If I wasn't busy having an out-of-body experience, I might have appreciated the irony. "It's been 5 years, Silas. 5 years of me raising our daughter while you play house across town. I didn't sign up to be your secret family." The word daughter hit me like a defibrillator to the chest. Not a mistress, a child. A 4-year-old little girl named Lily who shared my husband's DNA but not his address. The mental math was automatic. 5 years ago, while I was pulling double shifts to save for the house Silas insisted we needed, he was creating a second branch of the family tree across town. "You think this is easy for me?" Silas's voice had that familiar edge, the same one he used when explaining why we needed to postpone fertility treatments. Just 1 more year, for 5 consecutive years. "I'm juggling 2 households, 2 sets of bills. The apartment in Riverdale isn't cheap." Riverdale. The neighboring town where Silas had a weekly poker night with the guys. Apparently the poker chips were diapers, and the winning hand was a family I knew nothing about. "That's rich," Veda replied, her voice dripping with venom. "Poor you, having to maintain your perfect suburban life with your perfect nurse wife while your daughter grows up without her father's last name." I should have been devastated. I should have been collapsing into tears or storming over to create the scene this Applebee's wannabe establishment deserved. Instead, a strange calm washed over me. The kind that comes when every suspicion you've ever had suddenly gets validated. The unexplained weekend work emergencies, the mysterious cash withdrawals, the decreased interest in starting our own family. "Lower your voice," Silas hissed. "I've got a plan. I've been moving money into a separate account. By spring, I'll have enough saved to handle the divorce without losing everything." Ah, so I was on a countdown clock I didn't even know was ticking. How efficient of him. "You've been saying that for 2 years. Veda replied. Meanwhile, Lily starts kindergarten next fall, and the school forms need a father's information. What am I supposed to write? Dad exists but is busy with his other family? I'd heard enough. With the stealth of someone who regularly navigates hospital corridors without waking patients, I slipped out and returned to the car. 7 minutes had passed, not long enough for Silas to notice, but plenty long enough to record the demolition of my marriage. When Silas finally returned to the car, his wallet retrieved, and his conscience apparently untroubled, I almost admired his performance. Almost. Ready to head home, babe? I'm beat, he said, starting the engine of our Volvo, the sensible family car we'd bought to eventually fill with children. Children that apparently existed, just not with me. Sure thing, I replied, wondering if he could hear the seismic shift in my voice. Long day. As we drove home in near silence, Silas humming along to the radio like a man without the weight of 2 families on his shoulders, I began mentally cataloging our assets. The house in his name, the joint accounts, the life insurance policy that listed me as beneficiary because it's just responsible planning, Elsie. By the time we pulled into our driveway on Maple Street, with its perfectly maintained lawn and neighborhood association fees, I had formulated the beginnings of a plan that would make Silas's spring timeline look like a child's crayon scribble. I'm thinking we should have your parents over for breakfast this weekend, I said casually as we entered the house. It's been a while since we've seen them. Yeah, that'd be nice, he replied, distracted by his buzzing phone. Probably Veda, wondering how the conversation with his wife went. If only she knew there hadn't been one. Yet. Great. I'll make my special blueberry pancakes, I said, already envisioning a very different kind of special on the menu. I have a feeling it'll be a breakfast they'll never forget. And as Silas kissed my forehead with the practiced affection of a man who'd perfected the art of compartmentalization, I smiled. Not the smile of a woman destroyed, but of one awakened. After all, night nurses know better than anyone that the darkest hour comes just before the dawn. When people say marriage is about compromise, they usually mean deciding whose family to visit for Thanksgiving, not discovering your husband has been playing suburban dad bingo with a full second card across town. After my little reconnaissance mission at Hazel's Diner, I slept like a rock. If rocks could fantasize about elaborate revenge scenarios involving PowerPoint presentations of betrayal. Meanwhile, Silas snored beside me, blissfully unaware that his double life had just been reduced to a 7-minute audio file neatly labeled Exhibit A in my mental divorce proceedings. Friday morning arrived with Springfield's signature October chill. Perfect weather for serving cold, hard truth. Your parents confirmed for Sunday brunch, I announced over coffee, watching Silas scroll through emails on his phone. Your mom asked if they should bring anything. I told her just their appetites. And maybe their moral compass. He barely looked up. Sounds great, babe. 12 years together, and Sounds Great, Babe had become our relationship's background music, the elevator tune of matrimonial autopilot. I was thinking of making something special, I continued, stirring my coffee with surgical precision. Something that really captures the essence of our marriage. Whatever you want, he mumbled, completely missing my verbal breadcrumb trail toward disaster. I headed to Memorial for my night shift, my mind clearer than it had been in years. Funny how discovering your entire life is a carefully constructed lie can suddenly bring everything into focus. The hospital corridors felt different that night, less like the place I'd dedicated my career to, and more like a reminder of all the double shifts I'd worked to build a future, with a man who was simultaneously building one with someone else. You look different, Elsie, remarked Tara, the charge nurse who'd been my work wife for 8 years. Did you finally try that Korean skincare routine I recommended? No, I replied, checking a patient's IV with practiced efficiency. Just discovered my husband has a second family across town. Really opens up the pores. Tara's jaw practically dislocated. You're joking. I wish my life had that kind of comedic timing. No. I followed him back into the restaurant last night and recorded him talking to his waitress girlfriend about their 4-year-old daughter and their apartment in Riverdale. Holy mother of... She caught herself, remembering we were in the pediatric wing. What are you going to do? I'm hosting a lovely family breakfast on Sunday. Think of it as Extreme Makeover Marriage Edition, where the big reveal is that half the house was actually built in another neighborhood. While distributing medications, I called my college roommate Paige, now a divorce attorney specializing in what she cheerfully called high-conflict matrimonial dissolution, lawyer speak for when someone screws up royally. Record everything going forward, she advised after I explained the situation. Massachusetts is a two-party consent state for recordings, so that restaurant tape isn't admissible in court, but it's excellent leverage. I'll email you a list of financial documents to collect. And Elsie? Get screenshots of everything before he realizes you know. That night, while Silas claimed to be catching up on work emails, code for texting Veda about their daughter's preschool drama, I went into full forensic accountant mode. Amazing how motivated you can become when fueled by betrayal and spite. The discoveries rolled in like patience during flu season. A separate checking account at Riverdale Community Bank with monthly transfers labeled investment property. Very creative. Technically not a lie if you consider a secret child an investment in genetic propagation. Credit card statements showing purchases at Riverdale businesses, including monthly charges to Little Sprouts Daycare and regular visits to a toy store called Imagination Station. Meanwhile, I'd been using the same makeup brushes for 3 years because we need to tighten our budget. A life insurance policy I never knew about, with beneficiaries listed as Veda Parker and dependent. At least I had confirmation that our own policy listing me wasn't an elaborate setup for my mysterious disappearance. Most telling, a folder in his email labeled Lily, containing dozens of photos chronicling a little girl from infancy to present. A little girl with Silas's distinctive hazel eyes and cleft chin. A little girl celebrating birthdays, Christmases, and daddy-daughter days at the Springfield Zoo. On days when Silas was supposedly golfing with clients. Saturday morning, I moved through our house like a ghost, cataloging everything we'd built together while Silas went to his regular gym session, which, according to his location history that he'd forgotten I had access to, was actually at Riverdale Park. Probably pushing his daughter on the swings while I was rearranging our wedding photos for maximum dramatic impact. When he returned, flushed and smelling of unfamiliar shampoo, rookie mistake, real gym-goers come home smelling like sweat, not Irish Spring. I was making a grocery list for tomorrow's breakfast. Need any help tomorrow? He asked, grabbing a Gatorade from the fridge. No thanks. I've got everything under control, I replied with a smile that would have sent smarter men running for the hills. That afternoon, I visited Hazel's diner alone, requesting Veda's section. The confusion on her face when I sat down was almost worth the overpriced Turkey Club sandwich. Mrs. Matthews, she stammered, recognition dawning as she approached with her notepad. I didn't realize you were coming in today. Just craving their famous pie, I said cheerfully. Silas always raves about it. She shifted uncomfortably, her name tag gleaming under the fluorescent lights. What can I get you? Just coffee and a moment of your time if possible. The color drained from her face. I'm actually pretty busy. It'll only take a minute, I said, maintaining my nurse's calm in a crisis voice. I just wanted to invite you and Lily to breakfast tomorrow. Silas's parents will be there, and I thought it would be nice for everyone to finally meet. The coffee pot in her hand wobbled dangerously. I don't know what you're... Veda, let's not waste time. I heard your conversation with my husband Thursday night. All of it. I know about Lily, the apartment in Riverdale, and the 5-year production you two have been starring in. To her credit, she didn't deny it. Instead, her shoulders sagged with what looked almost like relief. I never wanted to be the other woman, she said quietly. He told me you two were separated when we met. Of course he did, I replied, leaving a $20 bill on the table as I stood. Standard script from the Handbook of Cheating Husbands. Chapter 1. Right after my wife doesn't understand me. What are you going to do? She asked, fear edging into her voice. Nothing to you or Lily, I assured her. That child is innocent in all this. But Silas? Let's just say tomorrow's breakfast will be serving something a lot harder to swallow than pancakes. I left her standing there, notepad clutched to her chest, probably wondering if she should warn Silas. I almost hoped she would. The anticipation of watching him squirm through the night was almost as satisfying as the main event would be. Back home, I finalized preparations for Sunday's showdown. The dining room table was set with our wedding china, a painfully ironic touch. The television was connected to my laptop, ready for its starring role. And the guest bedroom was prepared for what I assumed would be my temporary accommodations until I could find a Silas-free living situation. As I laid out my outfit for the morning, a crisp blue dress that brought out the steel in my eyes, Silas wandered in, oblivious to the execution I'd scheduled for his double life. "My parents are looking forward to tomorrow," he said, climbing into bed. "Mom's been asking when we'd have them over again." I think tomorrow will definitely be memorable for them," I replied, setting my alarm. "I'm planning quite the show." "You've been acting weird all day," he remarked, yawning. "Everything okay?" I smiled at him in the darkened bedroom, savoring the last night I'd ever have to sleep next to a man I now realized I'd never actually known. "Everything's perfect," I lied, matching his 5-year performance with a brief one of my own. "I just can't wait for tomorrow." Some things have been in the dark for too long. Sunday morning arrived with the kind of perfect fall sunshine that New England tourism boards use to sell Massachusetts to leaf peepers. Mother Nature apparently has a flair for dramatic irony, setting the stage for family implosion with golden light and crisp air. I woke before Silas, sliding out of bed at 6 a.m. to begin what would be my final performance as the dutiful wife. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent 12 years playing by the rules in a game where my opponent had created an entirely different rulebook. By 9:30, the house smelled like a Norman Rockwell painting: blueberry pancakes, bacon, fresh coffee, and the distinct aroma of impending catastrophe. My hands moved with clinical precision as I arranged fresh flowers on the table, chrysanthemums, symbolizing truth and honesty. A nice touch that would be lost on everyone but me. "Something smells amazing," Silas said, wandering into the kitchen in his Harvard Business School t-shirt, the one he wore when his parents visited to remind them of the education they'd financed. "Need any help?" "Everything's under control," I replied, checking my phone. "Just waiting for the guests of honor." His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned slightly, and excused himself to the hallway. No doubt Veda was trying to warn him about my diner visit. Too late, sweetheart. The wheels of justice were already rolling down our perfectly swept driveway. Gerald and Martha Matthews arrived at exactly 10:00 a.m., punctual as tax season. Martha carried her signature bundt cake, the one she'd been bringing to family gatherings for 30 years despite everyone's polite suggestions to "just bring yourself next time." "Elsie, darling." Martha air-kissed near both my cheeks, her Chanel No. 5 creating a cloud around her silver blonde bob. "The house looks lovely, though those curtains in the living room might benefit from a good steaming." 12 years of passive-aggressive commentary on my homemaking skills, and still she found new territory to critique. "So good to see you, Martha," I replied with newfound serenity. Amazing how little her jabs mattered now that I was about to set her precious son's reputation on fire. "Gerald, you look well." Gerald, a retired accountant with perpetually confused eyebrows, nodded and handed me a bottle of mid-priced champagne. "4 mimosas," he explained unnecessarily. "Perfect timing," I said, accepting the bottle. "We definitely have something to celebrate today." Silas shot me a quizzical look as he hugged his parents, but I was already heading to the kitchen to check on breakfast. In reality, I was confirming that my laptop was properly connected to the TV, and my carefully prepared presentation was ready to launch. I'd spent most of Friday night after my shift working on it, using the same software I used for nursing in-service presentations at the hospital. "Shall we all sit?" I called, returning with a plate of perfectly golden pancakes. "I've prepared something special." The Matthews family settled around our dining table, the expensive cherry wood one Silas had insisted on because presentation matters in life, Elsie. Completely unaware they were about to star in Springfield's most explosive Sunday morning show since the Methodist Church caught fire during Easter service in 2018. "Before we eat," I began, standing at the head of the table rather than taking my usual seat at Silas's right hand, "I wanted to share some exciting news." Martha perked up immediately, her eyes darting to my midsection. Are we finally getting a grandchild? I smiled tightly. In a manner of speaking. Silas froze, fork suspended midair. The panicked look in his eyes confirmed that Veda had indeed warned him something was amiss. Too bad he didn't know exactly what kind of storm was about to hit. Actually, Martha, you already have a grandchild, I continued pleasantly, pressing the remote in my pocket. The TV screen behind me flickered to life. Her name is Lily. She's 4, and she lives in Riverdale with her mother, Veda. The first slide appeared. A photo of Lily at what appeared to be her 4th birthday party, Silas's arm clearly around her shoulders. Daddy's big girl, written on the cake in pink frosting. I'd found it buried in his email archives. The silence that followed was so complete you could hear the collective blood pressure of the Matthews family rising. What is this? Gerald finally demanded, turning to his son. Silas had gone the peculiar shade of gray usually reserved for patients about to be wheeled into emergency surgery. Elsie, I can explain, he began, using the same tone he probably used when Veda discovered his marriage wasn't actually ending soon as promised. Oh, I'm sure you can, I interrupted smoothly. You've had 5 years to practice your explanations. But first, let's make sure we're all working with the same information. I clicked to the next slide, a screenshot of the Riverdale apartment lease with both Silas and Veda's signatures. This is insane, Silas sputtered, rising from his chair. You went through my private emails? Interesting, that's your first concern, I noted. Not the fact that you've been maintaining a second family across town while I worked night shifts to help pay for the house you insisted we needed. Martha made a sound like a deflating balloon. Silas James Matthews, what have you done? I clicked again. Bank statements showing regular transfers to Veda's account, daycare payments, and purchases from children's stores. It gets better, I said, pulling out my phone. I think you should all hear this conversation I accidentally recorded at Hazel's diner on Thursday night. I pressed play, and Silas's voice filled the room. I've been moving money into a separate account. By spring, I'll have enough saved to handle the divorce without losing everything. Gerald's face had turned the color of undercooked liver. You were planning to divorce Elsie? After she stood by you through business school? After she nursed your mother through hip surgery? Martha was uncharacteristically silent, her perfectly manicured hands gripping the edge of the table. It's not what it sounds like, Silas protested weakly, the last gasp of a man drowning in his own deception. Really? Because it sounds like you've been living a double life while systematically draining our joint accounts to support your secret family, I replied, my voice steady. It sounds like you've been lying to everyone in this room for 5 years. It sounds exactly like what it is. A betrayal so complete it's almost impressive. I clicked to the final slide, a neatly organized chart comparing our household expenses with the estimated cost of maintaining the Riverdale apartment and child support. For those interested in the financial aspects, I explained, channeling my inner boardroom presenter, Silas has spent approximately $289,000 on his second family over the past 5 years. That's money that could have gone toward the fertility treatments he kept postponing because they were too expensive right now. Martha finally found her voice. You told us Elsie didn't want children yet. The hits just kept coming. I almost felt sorry for him as his carefully constructed house of cards collapsed one joker at a time. I'd like to clarify something, I said, turning to my in-laws. I've never had anything against becoming a mother. But apparently, Silas preferred to allocate his paternal resources elsewhere. This is ridiculous, Silas snapped, desperation making him bold. You're twisting everything. Am I? Then perhaps you'd like to explain why you told Veda you've been juggling 2 households, and why your daughter, yes, your daughter, asked why her daddy doesn't live with her like her friend's parents do. That silenced him more effectively than any surgical tape. Gerald turned to his son with the disappointed glare that apparently ran in the Matthews family DNA. Is this true? Silas slumped in his chair, defeat finally registering on his face. It's complicated. Actually, it's remarkably simple, I countered, picking up a manila envelope from the side table. These are divorce papers, already filed with my attorney. You'll be formally served tomorrow, but I thought you might appreciate a preview. I'm asking for the house, given that you already have another residence established. Martha began quietly weeping into her napkin, the same performance she'd given when Silas's brother announced he was becoming a public defender instead of joining a corporate firm. You've been busy, Silas muttered, staring at the envelope. Night shifts provide a lot of time for strategic thinking, I replied, and motivation really enhances productivity. What do you want? He finally asked, looking utterly defeated. I smiled, not the practiced, pleasant smile of Elsie Matthews, dutiful wife, but the confident smile of Elsie Matthews, woman who would no longer accept less than she deserved. I want what everyone wants, Silas. Honesty, respect, and a fair division of assets. Oh, and I think it's time you introduced your parents to their granddaughter properly, don't you? As if on cue, the doorbell rang. 3 heads swiveled toward the entryway in perfect synchronization. That'll be Paige, my attorney, I explained, setting down my coffee cup. I thought she should join us for the financial portion of today's discussion. I hope no one minds. I made extra pancakes. Paige Turner, yes. Her parents really gave a future attorney that name. Strode into my dining room with the confidence of a woman who charged $400 an hour to dismantle people's lives with a smile. Her charcoal pantsuit and red-soled heels screamed, I eat cheating husbands for breakfast, more effectively than any business card. Sorry I'm late, she announced, setting her leather portfolio on the table. Traffic on Main Street was terrible. Someone should really tell the Methodist Church that 11 a.m. services create a nightmare bottleneck. I made quick introductions, enjoying the surreal tableau of my college roommate shaking hands with my soon-to-be ex-in-laws, while Silas looked like a man watching his own funeral. Paige is here to discuss the financial disclosure requirements, I explained, refilling coffee cups as if we were discussing book club selections rather than the implosion of a 12-year marriage. Since Silas has been so creative with his accounting, we thought it best to have everything properly documented. Martha dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. I just can't believe this is happening. Imagine how I felt, I replied, sliding the untouched pancakes aside to make room for the documents Paige was arranging. At least you found out in the comfort of your son's home. I discovered it while hiding behind a license plate display at Hazel's diner. Gerald, whose accountant's soul seemed genuinely disturbed by the financial impropriety more than the moral bankruptcy, cleared his throat. Perhaps we should give Silas and Elsie some privacy to discuss. Actually, Gerald, I interrupted gently, you and Martha should stay. As partial financiers of Silas's education and career, you're stakeholders in this situation. Plus, you have a granddaughter to meet, and I suspect Silas might need a ride home later. Silas's head snapped up. What do you mean, a ride home? Well, you won't be staying here, I explained, as if talking to a particularly slow patient. I've had the locks scheduled to be changed this afternoon. I've packed your essentials in those suitcases by the door. The rest can be arranged through our attorneys. Paige nodded approvingly. She'd advised this decisive approach, warning that waffling would only give Silas time to hide more assets or concoct elaborate justifications. You can't just throw me out of my own house, Silas protested, his voice rising to a pitch I'd previously only heard when the New England Patriots lost the Super Bowl. Actually, while I can't legally force you out today, I conceded, Paige has prepared a formal request for exclusive use of the marital home pending divorce proceedings. Given the circumstances and evidence of financial misconduct, she believes the judge will grant it immediately. You can contest it, of course, but that would mean explaining your double life in court. I slid a document across the table. This is a formal notice of intent to file for exclusive occupancy of the marital residence. Judge Wilson has agreed to hear the emergency petition first thing Monday morning. I'd never seen Silas speechless before. It was a refreshing change from his usual narrative domination. You're really going through with this? He finally sputtered. Did you think I wouldn't? I asked, genuinely curious. Did you think I'd just accept your explanation and carry on being the convenient wife while you played daddy across town? Gerald's accountant eyebrows nearly disappeared into his hairline. Silas, what were you thinking? He wasn't thinking with his brain, that's for sure, I muttered, earning an unprofessional snort from Paige. The doorbell rang again, and Silas looked ready to dive under the table. Who now? The entire Springfield Gazette. Actually, it's FedEx, I replied, checking my phone. The documents from your office should be arriving. Now Silas truly paled. What documents? Oh, did I forget to mention? I had your assistant Margot send over copies of your schedule for the past 5 years. She was quite helpful after I explained the situation and showed her our marriage certificate. Apparently, finding out your boss has a secret family really motivates administrative staff to cooperate with reasonable requests. I opened the door to accept the package, signing with a flourish that felt like autographing my Declaration of Independence. You had no right to involve my office, Silas hissed when I returned. And you had no right to father a child with another woman while married to me. Yet here we are, breaking all kinds of social contracts, I replied, handing the package to Paige. Martha, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly stood. I need to see her. Everyone turned to stare. Lily, she clarified, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. My granddaughter. I need to see her. Silas looked like he might faint. Mom, this isn't the time. When is the time, Silas? After you've lied for another 5 years? The child is 4 years old. That's 4 years of birthdays and Christmases I've missed while you've been playing divide and conquer with your families. Gerald stood beside his wife, suddenly looking every day of his 65 years. Your mother's right. We should meet her. The beautiful chaos of this moment almost made the past 72 hours of pain worth it. Almost. That can be arranged, I said, pulling out my phone. Veda and Lily are actually waiting at the playground behind the library down the street. I thought it might be good for everyone to meet in a neutral location. You invited them here? Silas looked genuinely terrified now. World collisions tend to do that to people who've built their lives on keeping realities separate. Not here. To the playground by the library. Pay attention, Silas. And yes, when I visited Veda yesterday, I suggested it might be time for a family reunion of sorts. She agreed your parents deserve to know their granddaughter. Martha was already grabbing her purse. Gerald, get the car. Actually, it's walking distance, I explained. And Paige and I have some paperwork to go over with Silas first. Why don't you two head over? You can't miss them. Lily has Silas's eyes. After they left, Martha moving with more purpose than I'd seen in years, the real business began. Paige laid out document after document detailing Silas's financial duplicity. The separate accounts, the systematic cash withdrawals, the rental property in Riverdale that was never disclosed on our joint tax returns. This level of financial separation while maintaining the appearance of marital unity is actually impressive, Paige noted. Unethical and potentially in violation of marital financial disclosure laws, but impressive. I was trying to protect everyone, Silas attempted, his defense as flimsy as hospital gowns. By hiding marital assets? I asked. That's like saying you set the house on fire to keep it from getting dusty. Paige outlined the settlement terms. I would keep the house and my retirement accounts. Silas would keep his separate accounts and assume all debts related to the Riverdale property. Child support for Lily would be formally established. You've thought of everything, Silas said bitterly. Night shifts are long, I reminded him. And betrayal is quite motivating. As Silas grudgingly signed the preliminary agreements, I felt a strange lightness spreading through my chest. Not happiness, that would take time, but liberation, the sweet release of no longer carrying someone else's lies. There's one more thing, I said as Paige gathered her documents. Of course there is, Silas sighed. Your parents will likely want a relationship with Lily now. That means you'll need to actually be a full-time father instead of the part-time fantasy dad who shows up for zoo trips and ice cream. His expression confirmed my suspicion. He'd enjoyed the compartmentalized parenting arrangement that let him play superdad without the daily grind of actual parenting. I know how to be a father, he insisted. No, you know how to perform fatherhood when it's convenient, I corrected. There's a difference. Ask any single parent, like Veda has been for 4 years. Paige checked her watch. We should wrap this up. Elsie, the locksmith will be here within the hour. Silas, you have until then to collect your essential belongings. As they finalized details, I stepped onto our back porch, soon to be just my porch, and breathed in the crisp October air. From here, I could just see the playground where Martha and Gerald were likely meeting their granddaughter for the first time. Another family being remade by Silas's choices. When I returned inside, Silas was standing by the suitcases I'd packed, looking lost in the house he'd insisted we buy together. "You know, you won't get away with this," he said, a final desperate attempt at regaining control. "People will take my side when they hear your version." I laughed, a genuine laugh that felt foreign after days of calculated planning. "Silas, I'm a night nurse who worked double shifts to support your career while you built a second family across town. I discovered your betrayal by accident and handled it with paperwork instead of drama. Exactly whose side do you think people will take?" His silence was answer enough. "The locksmith arrives in 40 minutes, I reminded him. "You should probably head to the playground to damage control whatever nuclear family reunion is happening right now." As he wheeled his suitcases toward the door, a sudden thought stopped him. "How did you know?" he asked. "What made you follow me that night at the restaurant?" I smiled, finally delivering the line I'd been rehearsing since Thursday night. "Because you paid the bill with cash, then claimed you forgot your wallet. Even your lies couldn't keep their stories straight." 3 months after the breakfast that demolished my marriage faster than Martha's bundt cake demolished a diet plan, I found myself sitting on my porch swing, not our porch swing anymore, watching January's first serious snowfall blanket Springfield in pristine white. Symbolic, really. Life has a way of dropping perfect metaphors when you least expect them. The divorce proceedings were moving forward with remarkable efficiency, thanks to Paige's shark-like litigation skills and Silas's complete lack of moral high ground. Turns out, judges don't look kindly on men who maintain secret families while hiding marital assets. Who knew? My house, now legally in the process of becoming solely mine, with Silas's name being removed from all documents as part of the settlement, felt different, bigger somehow, without the weight of deception filling its corners. I'd redecorated, replacing the beige walls Silas had insisted on. Neutral tones maintain resale value, Elsie, with colors that actually had names beyond eggshell and taupe. The phone beside me buzzed with a text from Tara. "Night shift crew going for breakfast at Jim's Diner after work tomorrow. In or out?" Not Hazel's Diner. Never again Hazel's Diner. I texted back, "In. Save me a seat at the counter of redemption." My hospital colleagues had formed an unexpectedly fierce support system during the divorce hurricane. Turns out, healthcare workers who regularly deal with bodily fluids have very little patience for emotional crap. Their loyalty manifested in practical ways, covering shifts during court appearances, delivering casseroles that didn't ask probing questions, and religiously avoiding Hazel's Diner in solidarity. The neighborhood had chosen sides too, though I never asked them to. Mrs. Peterson, next door accidentally, turned her sprinklers toward Silas when he came to collect the last of his belongings. The Johnsons across the street stopped inviting him to their legendary 4th of July barbecues. Even Pastor Williams from the Methodist Church, the one causing traffic jams every Sunday, had stopped by with banana bread and a discreet business card for his sister, a therapist specializing in betrayal trauma. Riverdale, meanwhile, was dealing with its own dramatic restructuring. Veda had moved with Lily to a new apartment closer to her parents, finally escaping the property that had been the physical manifestation of her other woman status. According to Martha, who now called me weekly with unsolicited updates and thinly veiled apologies, Veda had enrolled in community college nursing classes. "She says you inspired her," Martha had explained during our last awkward phone conversation. "Something about how you handled the whole situation with such professional precision." I wasn't sure how to feel about inspiring my ex-husband's mistress, but life is nothing if not complicated. Besides, the healthcare system always needs more nurses who understand the importance of accurate documentation. Silas had moved into a depressingly predictable bachelor apartment downtown, equidistant from his Riverdale obligations and his Springfield office. He now had court-mandated visitation with Lily every weekend and Wednesday evening, a schedule that apparently left him perpetually exhausted and chronically late to work. "Parenting is harder than I expected," he'd admitted during our last property division meeting, dark circles under his eyes matching the ones I'd earned during years of night shifts. "Fascinating discovery," I'd replied. "You should publish your findings in the Journal of Obvious Conclusions." Gerald and Martha had thrown themselves into grandparenthood with the fervor of people making up for lost time. Martha had even learned to knit, badly according to photographic evidence, producing misshapen sweaters that Lily apparently wore with 4-year-old pride. The strangest development, however, was my own unexpected metamorphosis. Somewhere between recording that conversation at Hazel's diner and watching Silas wheel his suitcases out my front door, I'd discovered a steel-spined version of myself I hadn't known existed. This Elsie didn't automatically say sorry when someone else bumped into her at the grocery store. This Elsie didn't take extra shifts to accommodate everyone else's schedule. This Elsie had opinions about paint colors and expressed them without seeking consensus first. My mother would have been proud. She'd always told me I was too accommodating, too willing to bend until I broke. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish, Elsie, she'd insisted during our last conversation before cancer took her. It's self-preservation. I'd finally gotten the message, albeit via the scenic route through betrayal and divorce. The snow continued falling as I sipped my tea, served in a mug that said plot twist that Tara had given me for Christmas. So many people had asked if I regretted not seeing the signs earlier, if I wished I'd caught him sooner or confronted him differently. The truth was more complicated than my carefully curated revenge narrative suggested. Would I have preferred discovering Silas's deception before investing 12 years? Obviously. Would I have chosen a different path if I'd known what lay ahead? Probably. But regret is a luxury afforded to those with time machines, and Springfield Memorial was fresh out of those in the supply closet. Instead, I'd chosen to view the collapse of my marriage as an unexpected curriculum in self-reliance. Silas's betrayal had been my most painful teacher, but also my most effective one. I'd learned that I could survive what I'd previously considered unsurvivable, that I could methodically dismantle a life that no longer served me and build something better from its remains. Next week, I was starting day shifts in the pediatric wing, a schedule change I'd requested after realizing night shifts had been convenient for Silas's double life, but devastating for my circadian rhythm. My first weekend off would be spent in Boston at a forensic nursing conference, something I'd always been interested in but had never pursued because Silas thought it was morbid. As twilight settled over the snow-covered street, my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Is this Elsie Matthews? This is Lily's mom, Veda. Martha gave me your number. I know this is awkward, but I have a nursing school question if you have a minute." I stared at the message, considering the strange paths life carves when you least expect them. Then I typed back, "This is Elsie, and I have several minutes. Ask away." Life after betrayal isn't a straight line to healing. It's messy, complicated, and occasionally requires answering texts from the woman your husband left you for. But if there's one thing night nurses know, it's that darkness eventually yields to dawn. And sometimes, the view is worth the wait. Discovering your husband's affair through a shared Google Drive folder labeled Fusion Dream Team hits different when you're the one who taught him how to use cloud storage. Thursday, September 18th, 10:47 a.m. I'm sitting in my home office in our McMansion in Portland's West Hills, reviewing a client's portfolio, when Holden's laptop, which he conveniently left open on the kitchen counter, pings with a notification. Now, I'm not the snooping type. I'm Mira Vaughn, 38-year-old financial consultant, mother of one brilliant 9-year-old daughter named Ivy, and the kind of wife who genuinely believed working late meant actual work. Spoiler alert, I was adorably naive. The notification preview reads, "Karina added new files to Fusion Dream Team, final budget." Karina. That name had been floating around our house for 6 months like a particularly persistent fruit fly. Karina from my MBA cohort. Karina thinks we should diversify. Karina has this amazing idea about fusion cuisine. I should have known when he started using words like synergy at the dinner table. Here's the thing about being a financial consultant. You develop a sixth sense for when numbers don't add up. And my husband's story? It had more holes than a strip mall after a going out of business sale. Holden Vaughn, 40 years old, marketing director at a mid-tier tech company. My husband of 12 years. Father to our daughter Ivy, who thankfully inherited my brain and not his talent for creative accounting. We met at a networking event in downtown Portland back in 2013. Got married within a year. Classic millennial romance, complete with a wedding at a converted barn and artisanal everything. For a decade, we were that couple. The ones who hosted elaborate Thanksgiving dinners, showed up to PTA meetings together, took annual trips to Cannon Beach. We had the house in the right neighborhood, the Subaru Outback in the driveway, and a golden retriever named Biscuit who's currently sleeping under my desk, blissfully unaware that his world is about to implode. But somewhere between our 10th anniversary and Ivy starting 4th grade, Holden discovered ambition. Or more accurately, Holden discovered Karina Landry. I click on the notification, and Google Drive opens like Pandora's box. The folder is a masterpiece of organizational betrayal. Market analysis, location scouting photos, menu mock-ups, and, my personal favorite, a subfolder titled Our Vision. Our Vision. Not the restaurant vision. Our. I scroll through documents with clinical detachment. Photos of a commercial space in Portland's trendy Division Street district. Financial projections that are embarrassingly optimistic. A mission statement using the word journey 17 times. And then, buried in a subfolder labeled Personal, I find it. A photo of them. Holden and Karina, standing in front of their potential restaurant location, her hand on his chest, both looking at each other like they're in a cologne commercial. The timestamp reads July 4th, Independence Day. While Ivy and I were watching fireworks at Waterfront Park, eating overpriced corn dogs, Holden was declaring independence from his marriage vows. The affair itself? Not even the most creative part of this betrayal. It's the restaurant that really showcases Holden's special brand of audacity. They want to open a fusion restaurant, Korean-Italian, because apparently cultural appropriation and adultery pair well together, in one of Portland's hottest neighborhoods. The projected startup cost? $850,000. Their current funding? Maybe $200,000. Most of it probably from Karina's family money. The business plan reads like it was written by someone who watched too much Food Network and not enough Shark Tank. And here's where it gets really good. They need investors. Big ones. Anonymous ones if possible because, and I'm reading directly from their funding strategy, we want to maintain creative control and avoid too many cooks in the kitchen. Oh, the irony is so thick I could spread it on toast. I lean back in my Herman Miller chair and stare at the ceiling. Our bedroom is directly above my office. The bed where we've slept together for 12 years. Where we made Ivy. Where he probably texts Karina while I'm brushing my teeth. The rage doesn't come immediately. First, there's this weird detached curiosity. Like watching a true crime documentary about your own life. Then comes the mental inventory. Our joint accounts, our mortgage, Ivy's college fund that I've been meticulously managing. Holden thinks I'm boring. I know this because 2 months ago, I overheard him on the phone in the garage. Mira's great, but she's so practical. Everything's about returns on investment and risk assessment. When was the last time we did something spontaneous? Spontaneous. Like embezzling joint savings for a restaurant with your side piece? My phone buzzes. A text from my sister Hazel, 35, a corporate lawyer in Seattle. Lunch next week? I need to escape these depositions. Another text from Rowan, my best friend since college, 38, a real estate agent who knows Portland's market intimately. Found the perfect listing for that investment property you mentioned. Downtown space, restaurant ready. Call me. I look back at the Google Drive, at their naive financial projections, at Holden's handwritten notes. Maybe ask M for business advice? No, keep separate. Keep separate. Like compartmentalized lives. Like believing your wife is too busy with client calls and carpool schedules to notice you're building an entire alternate future. Here's what Holden doesn't know about his practical wife. I didn't become a successful financial consultant by playing it safe. I became successful by understanding exactly when to take calculated risks. And I didn't build my reputation without learning how to move assets in ways that are perfectly legal but creatively strategic. Phoenix Ventures. That's what I'll call it. A shell corporation, rising from the ashes of my marriage. Poetic, right? I start drafting an email to my business attorney, Felicity. A shark who once helped a client hide assets so thoroughly that her ex thought they owned a moderately successful Etsy shop when they actually owned 3 commercial properties. The plan crystallizes in my mind like ice forming on a windshield. Cold, clear, inevitable. I won't confront Holden. I won't scream or throw dishes or change the locks. That's what he expects. That's what would make his narrative easy. My wife went crazy, so I had to leave. No. Instead, I'll do what I do best. I'll assess the risk, calculate the returns, and make an investment in his failure. Downstairs, the front door opens. Holden's home early, probably to grab the laptop he forgot. "Babe," he calls out. "You seen my laptop?" "Kitchen counter," I call back, my voice steady. "Where you left it." He appears in my doorway, all 6'2" of him, wearing his favorite Nike jacket and guilt he doesn't know I can see. "Thanks. Had to run back. Got a big meeting this afternoon." "Another one?" I give him my best concerned wife smile. "You've been having so many meetings lately. This new project must be intense." "Yeah." He grabs the laptop, not meeting my eyes. "But it's exciting, you know. Something different. Something that could really be transformative." Transformative. That's what he said about our marriage on our wedding day. "That's wonderful, honey. I'm so proud of you." The lies taste like artificial sweetener. "Will you be home for dinner? Ivy has soccer practice until 6. "Probably late. Don't wait up." He kisses the top of my head, a gesture so patronizing I have to suppress the urge to bite him, and leaves. Through my window, I watch him get into his Tesla and drive away, probably heading to meet Karina, to discuss their vision, to plan their future while I sit here in our shared home, surrounded by 12 years of accumulated life. But here's the plot twist they never saw coming. I'm not the woman who gets left behind. I'm the woman who bought the exit route before they even knew they needed one. I pull up a blank document and start typing. Project Phoenix, investment strategy. Target, fusion affair. Biscuit stirs under my desk, looking up at me with those trusting brown eyes. "Don't worry, buddy," I tell him. "We're about to teach Daddy a very expensive lesson about underestimating women who balance checkbooks." My phone buzzes again. "Hazel. Also, you've been weird lately. Everything okay?" I smile at the screen. "Soon, dear sister. Soon you'll know everything. The restaurant Holden and Karina want to build? It's about to have a new silent partner. One who controls 51% of everything. One who's been reviewing their budget and noticing all the places where they're about to fail. One who knows exactly how to fix those failures while simultaneously destroying everything they hope to build. Welcome to my investment strategy, where the returns are measured in poetic justice and the dividends are paid in schadenfreude. Let the games begin. The next 72 hours pass in this surreal double consciousness. During the day, I'm perfect Mira, making Ivy's lunch with the crusts cut off just how she likes, attending a parent-teacher conference where I learn our daughter is excelling in math, no surprise there, and video calling 3 different clients about their Q4 portfolios. At night, I'm Phoenix Mira, building a shell corporation so airtight that even the IRS would applaud my creativity. Sunday afternoon, September 21st. We're at Whole Foods, because of course we shop at Whole Foods. We're Portland people with opinions about organic kale. Holden's pushing the cart while I navigate our usual route through the store. Ivy's at a birthday party at Urban Air, so it's just us, playing house in the produce section. "We should get more of that fancy cheese," Holden says, not looking up from his phone. "The one with the truffle." I glance at the screen he's supposedly discreetly angled away from me. I catch 3 words. Tuesday venue walkthrough. "The truffle cheese is $18 for 6 ounces, I say, placing organic strawberries in the cart. "That's $48 per pound. We talked about watching discretionary spending this quarter." He sighs. That particular sigh. The one that says, "Here she goes again with the numbers." It's cheese, Mira. Not a yacht. No, a yacht would actually appreciate in value if we picked the right model. I smile sweetly. Cheese just gets moldy and becomes a metaphor for relationships. The joke lands flat because he's not listening. He's typing something, his thumbs moving with the urgency of someone who definitely isn't discussing quarterly reports. Sorry, what? He looks up, that practiced expression of mild attention he's perfected. Nothing. Get the cheese. Get two. Get the whole wheel. Let's really commit to poor financial decisions. We round the corner into the wine section, and Holden physically perks up. Oh, we should get that Pinot Noir, the one from Willamette Valley. It'd be perfect for the restaurant. I mean, for dinner. For us. For home dinner. There it is. The slip. The tiny crack in his performance. You said restaurant. I stopped the cart. What restaurant? His face does this fascinating thing where multiple lies compete for dominance. I meant, when we go out. To restaurants. Generally speaking. Generally speaking. I nod slowly. Like how you've been, generally speaking, coming home at 10 p.m. 3 nights a week. That's work, babe. I told you, the new campaign? Right. The campaign. For the company that still lists their office hours as 9 to 6 on their website. A woman reaching for rosé shoots us a look. Holden's jaw tightens. Why are you being like this? And there it is. The gaslight special. When you question their lies, suddenly, you're the problem. You're being like this. You're the difficult one. Like what? I ask innocently. Interested in my husband's life? Wildly crazy concepts, I know. You're being paranoid. Paranoid. That's rich coming from someone who literally has a Google Drive folder titled, Keep Separate from M. I found that Friday night while he was passed out on the couch. Turns out, when you're building a secret restaurant empire with your affair partner, you create a lot of digital breadcrumbs. The Keep Separate folder contained gems like a lease agreement he'd already signed for the Division Street space 2 months ago, text message screenshots discussing how to manage the Mira situation, and a timeline for when they plan to go public with everything. Conveniently scheduled for January after the holidays, because even cheaters have standards about ruining Christmas. But my personal favorite, a document titled Exit Strategy, that outlined how Holden plans to position himself as the wronged party. Phrases like, grew apart, and she never supported my dreams, were highlighted like talking points for his future victim narrative. The audacity could fuel a small city. We finished shopping in silence. At checkout, the cashier, a 20-something with purple hair and a name tag reading River, because Portland, makes cheerful small talk. Holden charms her with his marketing director smile, the one that says, I'm a nice guy who recycles and drinks local craft beer. River doesn't know she's bagging groceries for a man who's literally stealing from his family's future to fund his midlife crisis. We drive home, unpack in coordinated silence, a dance perfected over 12 years. Holden disappears upstairs to check emails. I start meal prep, channeling rage into violently chopping vegetables. My phone buzzes. Hazel. Okay, you're officially worrying me. Lunch tomorrow in Portland? I'll drive down. I respond. Make it dinner, and bring your shark lawyer brain. I need it. 30 seconds later. OMG, what happened? Tomorrow. Trust me, you'll want wine for this story. Another buzz. Rowan. That property I mentioned? Owner's motivated. Restaurant space, fully equipped kitchen, Division Street. Wants to close fast. Interested? I stop chopping. Look at my phone. Look at the ceiling, where Holden is presumably upstairs texting Karina about their dream location. The same location Rowan just sent me. The universe has jokes. I call Rowan immediately. The Division Street property. Send me everything. And I mean everything. Comps, traffic patterns, lease terms, owner motivation, what the previous tenant served for lunch. Full analysis by tomorrow morning. Mira, that's like 40 hours of work compressed into 12. I'll pay you double your usual research fee. Okay, but why the urgency? You've never been this aggressive about a property. Let's just say I'm considering a hostile takeover of the fusion cuisine market. I keep my voice light. Can you do it or not? For double. I'll have it to you by 7 a.m. But you're buying me brunch and explaining this weirdness. Deal. I hang up and continue destroying innocent carrots. Upstairs I hear Holden laughing. Actually laughing. A sound I haven't heard directed at me in months. He's probably FaceTiming her, discussing their vision, while I'm down here preparing his meals for the week like some kind of 1950s housewife cosplay. Monday morning, September 22nd. I drop Ivy at school, watching her run toward her friend group with her rainbow backpack bouncing. She turns back, waves, gives me that smile that makes every sacrifice worth it. Whatever happens with Holden, I need to protect this. Her stability, her happiness, her belief that families stay together. At 7:15 a.m., Rowan's email hits my inbox. The subject line reads, "Your mystery property, and girl, we need to talk." I open it in my car, still in the school parking lot. The report is thorough. The Division Street space is a former Italian restaurant that closed 6 months ago after the owner retired. 3,500 square feet. Commercial kitchen with all equipment included. Patio seating. Prime location near trendy boutiques and the new condos that went up last year. Current asking price, $425,000 to purchase the building outright, or $8,500 per month to lease. Estimated monthly operating costs for a restaurant, $45,000, $55,000. Projected time to profitability for a new restaurant in that location, 18 to 24 months. Holden and Karina's financial projections show them breaking even in 6 months. I actually laugh out loud in my Subaru. 6 months. These absolute children think they're going to open a fusion restaurant in one of Portland's most competitive food markets and be profitable in 6 months. Their business plan is less realistic than Ivy's belief in the tooth fairy, and she's 9. At the bottom of Rowan's report, there's a personal note. "Mir, I did some digging. Someone's already inquiring about this property hard. Multiple phone calls, sent representatives to view it 3 times last week. The owner mentioned it's a young couple wanting to open a Korean-Italian place. Ring any bells? Call me now." My phone rings immediately. Rowan doesn't wait for me to say hello. "Explain." "Can't. Not yet. But I need you to do something for me, and I need you to trust me without questions. This is either going to be brilliant, or I'm going to be visiting you in prison. Probably both. I need you to submit an offer on that property. Cash offer, 30 days to close, 10% over asking. But it needs to come through a corporate entity that can't be traced back to me." Silence. Then, "Mira, what is happening?" "Holden's having an affair. They're opening that restaurant together. I'm about to become their majority investor without them knowing it's me." More silence. Then Rowan starts laughing. Not polite laughter. Full body, can't breathe, tears streaming laughter. "Oh my God. Oh my God. This is the most savage thing I've ever heard. I'm in. I'm so in. What do you need?" "Help me buy a building and destroy my husband's dreams. In that order. Best Monday ever. I'll call the owner within the hour." I hang up and sit in my car, watching other parents drop off their kids, everyone playing their roles in this suburban theater. Soccer moms and dads, professionals in business casual, nannies with multiple children in tow. All of us pretending we have it together. All of us hiding something. My phone buzzes. A text from Holden. "Forgot to mention, I have a networking dinner Wednesday night. Don't wait up." Networking dinner. Is that what we're calling it now? I respond, "No problem. Ivy and I will have a girls' night. Maybe we'll watch one of those cooking competition shows. I've been really interested in restaurant failures lately. So educational." The 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Then, sounds fun. He doesn't get the joke, but he will. Oh, honey, he absolutely will. Monday evening, September 22nd. Hazel arrives at my house at 6:30 p.m. sharp, carrying a bottle of wine that probably costs more than most people's car payments. My sister doesn't do anything by halves. Not her legal career, not her designer wardrobe, and definitely not her reaction when I explain the situation. "I'm going to murder him," she says, exactly 4 minutes into my explanation. We're in my kitchen. Ivy safely upstairs doing homework with noise-canceling headphones. Biscuit sleeping at our feet. I'm going to murder him, and then I'm going to resurrect him just so I can file the most vicious divorce papers the state of Oregon has ever seen. No murder necessary. I have a better plan. I spread the documents across my kitchen island. Rowan's property analysis. Screenshots from Holden's Google Drive. The timeline of the affair. The restaurant's laughably optimistic financial projections. And finally, the corporate documents for Phoenix Ventures, LLC, Established Friday afternoon with Felicity's help. Hazel studies everything with her lawyer brain fully activated. She's quiet for 3 full minutes, an eternity for my sister, before she looks up at me with something like awe. You're going to buy the building out from under them. Better, I already did. Rowan submitted the offer this morning. All cash, close in 30 days, 10% over asking. The owner accepted 2 hours ago. Holy! Hazel stops herself, glancing toward the stairs. Mira, this is beautifully vindictive. I prefer financially strategic. I pour us both wine. But here's the thing. I don't just want the building. I want control. I want to be their angel investor, their salvation, their ticket to making this restaurant happen. And I want them to sign contracts that give me 51% ownership before they know who I am. Hazel starts laughing. You're going to make them beg you for the money to betray you with. Poetic, right? She raises her glass. I'm morally obligated as your attorney to advise you this is potentially unethical. And as my sister? As your sister, I'm asking where I can help destroy this man's life. We clink glasses. Sisterhood is beautiful. I need you to draw up investment contracts, I say. Airtight. The kind where they sign over majority control without realizing it until it's too late. Can you do that? Can I do that? Mira, I once wrote a prenup so ironclad that the husband's own mother congratulated the wife. This is my Olympic event. Over the next 2 hours, Hazel drafts preliminary documents while I coordinate with Felicity via email. The plan crystallizes. Phoenix Ventures will approach Holden and Karina as interested investors. We'll arrange the initial meeting through a third-party consultant, someone Holden's never met, and I won't appear until the contracts are signed. What about the business plan? Hazel asks, reading through Holden's projections again. These numbers are garbage. They'll tank in 3 months, even with proper funding. Exactly. That's where I come in as the concerned investor who insists on operational changes. Every decision, every vendor, every menu item, I'll have final approval, and I'm going to watch them slowly realize they built a prison for themselves. You're kind of scary when you're calculating. 12 years of marriage to a cheater will do that. My phone buzzes. A text from Holden. Dinner running late. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. 2 words he types while probably sitting across from her at some trendy restaurant, discussing their future while I fund it from our joint account. I show Hazel the text. She makes a sound like an angry cat. Wednesday, I say. His networking dinner. Want to do surveillance? I'm a corporate attorney, not a private investigator. So that's a yes? Obviously that's a yes. Tuesday morning, September 23rd. I meet with Felicity at her downtown office, all glass and steel and aggressive professionalism. She's 50-something, with silver hair cut in a sharp bob, and the kind of presence that makes opposing counsel weep. Mira. She doesn't smile, just gestures to the chair across from her massive desk. Your shell corporation is established, fully legal, completely untraceable to you personally. Now explain why you're buying a restaurant property. I explain. Everything. She listens without interrupting, which is somehow more intimidating than if she'd reacted. When I finish, she leans back in her chair. This is either genius or you're having a breakdown. Can it be both? Fair point. She pulls up documents on her computer. Here's what we're going to do. Phoenix Ventures purchases the building outright. That closes in 30 days. Simultaneously, we establish a second entity, Cascade Capital Partners, that will approach your husband and his friend about investment. Cascade will offer them exactly what they need, startup capital in exchange for equity. We'll structure it so they think they're getting a great deal. 65% ownership for them combined, 35% for us. But buried in the operational clauses, we retain final decision authority on all major business decisions, which effectively means control. Will they sign that? Desperate people sign anything. And based on these financials, they're very desperate. She pauses. There's one problem. What? You're using joint marital assets for this. When the divorce happens, and it will happen, this could get complicated. I've thought about that. The building purchase comes from my separate business account, my consulting income. The investment offer will come from Phoenix Ventures, which is funded by my personal assets from before the marriage. Everything's clean. Felicity actually smiles. You've been planning this? I've been planning this since I was 22 and knew I never wanted to be financially dependent on anyone. I lean forward. Can you make this happen? I can make this happen. But Mira, understand? Once you start this, there's no going back. You're going to destroy your marriage. Felicity, my marriage was destroyed the moment he decided someone else was more important. I'm just controlling how it ends. She nods slowly. Then let's burn this thing down properly. Wednesday evening, September 24th. Hazel picks me up at 7 p.m. in her Tesla, because apparently everyone in my life drives Teslas now, and we head to downtown Portland. Holden's networking dinner is at Irving Street Kitchen, a trendy spot known for its open kitchen and C&B scene vibe. Terrible choice for a secret affair meeting. Excellent choice for my purposes. We park across the street with a clear view of the entrance. Hazel has a tablet with her, ostensibly reviewing case files but actually ready to document everything. I feel ridiculous, like we're in a bad movie. But then I see him, Holden, walking up to the restaurant at 7:25 p.m., wearing the sport coat I bought him for his birthday. He's on his phone, smiling at whatever he's reading, and then she appears. Karina Landry. I've seen photos, but in person she's younger than I expected. Maybe 30, 32. Long, dark hair, one of those effortlessly elegant looks that probably takes 2 hours. She's wearing designer jeans and heels, and when Holden sees her, his whole face transforms. That's what hurts. Not the affair itself, but the expression on his face. The way he looks at her like she's sunlight. The way he used to look at me 12 years ago. They embrace. Not a friendly hug. A real embrace. His hand on her lower back. Her face buried in his neck. Then they walk into the restaurant together, and I watch through the windows as they're seated at an intimate corner table. Want me to go in there and accidentally spill wine on them? Hazel asks. Tempting. But no. I pull out my phone and take several photos through the window. Time-stamped. Location tagged. I just need evidence that his networking dinners aren't about networking. We watch them for 30 minutes. They're clearly comfortable together. Laughing, touching hands across the table, sharing food. This isn't new. This isn't awkward. This is a relationship. A whole separate relationship that exists parallel to our marriage. At one point, Holden pulls out his laptop, the same one I used to discover everything, and they lean over it together, looking at something on the screen. The restaurant plans, probably. Their future. Their dream. Built on my money. In my city. While I sit at home with our daughter, my phone buzzes. A text from Holden. Dinner going long. These clients are chatty. Be home around 10. Kiss Ivy goodnight for me. I show Hazel. She looks at the restaurant, at Holden visible through the window, then back at the phone. I want to be there when you destroy him. You will be. I promise. Thursday morning, September 25th. Everything starts moving fast. Felicity emails me. Cascade Capital Partners is established. We have a representative ready to approach them. Give me the go-ahead and we'll make contact tomorrow. Rowan texts. Building inspection scheduled for next week. This is really happening, isn't it? Hazel sends a draft of the investment contracts. These are bulletproof. They'll think they're getting a gift from heaven. They're actually signing over control of everything. Review and approve. I sit in my home office, biscuit at my feet, and review every document. The building purchase agreement, the LLC formation papers, the investment proposal, the contracts that will give me 51% control disguised as a generous deal. Everything is perfect. Everything is legal. Everything is about to change. And the best part? Holden still thinks I'm just his boring, practical wife who cares too much about spreadsheets and not enough about his dreams. He's about to learn that spreadsheets are how you win wars. I email Felicity. Go ahead. Make contact. Let's introduce them to their new investor. Her response comes immediately. Burning it down. This is going to be fun. I lean back in my chair and look at the ceiling. Above me, Holden's getting ready for work, completely unaware that his entire future is being carefully dismantled by the woman he underestimated. The woman who taught him how to use Google Drive. The irony is almost too perfect. Friday morning, September 26th. Felicity's representative, a professional consultant named Marcus who specializes in restaurant investments, makes contact with Holden. I'm not there for the initial call, but Felicity sends me a recording of his voicemail response. Mr. Vaughn, this is Marcus Webb from Cascade Capital Partners. We've been reviewing opportunities in Portland's culinary scene and came across the Fusion Affair concept. We're very interested in discussing potential investment. Please call me at your earliest convenience. Holden calls back in 14 minutes. Felicity times it. Over the next week, everything accelerates. Marcus meets with Holden and Karina twice. They're desperate, enthusiastic, and according to Marcus's reports, almost offensively naive about basic business operations. Their projected food costs are 30% too low. Their staffing plan is understaffed by at least 3 people. They've budgeted nothing for marketing beyond social media presence. It's like watching children play restaurant. Wednesday, October 1st. The investment meeting. Cascade Capital Partners offers them exactly what they need: $450,000 in startup capital. In exchange, Cascade wants 35% equity. Holden and Karina will split 65% between them. On paper, it looks generous. They're maintaining majority ownership. They get the funding they desperately need. It's a dream scenario. Except buried in the operational agreement, the part that most people skim because it's 70 pages of legal terminology, are clauses that give the investor final approval on all major business decisions: vendor selection, menu pricing, hiring and firing, lease negotiations, marketing strategy. Everything that actually matters. Hazel crafted it beautifully. They'll own 65% of nothing they can control. They sign on Thursday, October 2nd. Marcus sends me a photo of the executed contracts. I'm at Ivy's soccer game, watching our daughter score a goal, when I receive confirmation that I now own 51% control of my husband's affair project. Life is remarkably strange sometimes. The building purchase closes on October 20th. Phoenix Ventures now owns the Division Street property. Cascade Capital immediately offers Holden and Karina a lease at below market rates, 15% less than they'd budgeted. They're thrilled. They think they found the deal of the century. They have no idea their landlord and their investor are the same person, or that the same person is currently sleeping in their bed and making their breakfast. The restaurant build-out begins in early November, and this is where I start exercising my contractual rights. Their first choice for a general contractor? Overpriced and unreliable. I reject it, suggest an alternative, one who happens to be excellent and costs 30% less. They're confused but grateful. Their kitchen equipment vendor? Marked up by 40%. I reject it, provide a better option. Again, confusion and gratitude. Their proposed menu pricing? Undervalued by at least 20%. I require adjustments. Holden actually argues this one, but the contract is clear. Final approval rests with the investor. Every decision, I'm there. Not as Mira, but as the mysterious Cascade Capital Partners, protecting their investment, making them better despite themselves. It's infuriating for them and absolutely delicious for me. At home, Holden's stress levels are approaching critical mass. He complains constantly about the controlling investors who won't let us execute our vision. They keep changing everything, he rants over dinner on November 10th, pushing his food around his plate. Ivy's at a sleepover, so it's just us. We wanted this specific Italian tile for the bathrooms, but they insisted on a different option. We wanted local craft beer on tap. They're making us diversify the beer selection. It's like they don't trust us. Maybe they're trying to help? I offer innocently. I mean, they did give you almost $500,000. Maybe they know something about running successful restaurants? We know what we're doing, Mira. This is our dream. Still protecting the fantasy that this is his and Karina's special project. I'm sure it'll work out, I say, refilling his wine. You're so talented. I believe in you. The lies taste like victory now. November 18th. The soft opening is supposed to be an intimate event. 50 people, mostly Holden and Karina's friends and family. Low-key, quiet. A chance to test the menu before the official launch. Cascade Capital Partners has other ideas. Marcus contacts them with a proposal. What if we made the soft opening a bigger event? Invite local food critics, bloggers, maybe some local media. Generate early buzz. We'll cover the additional costs. They resist initially. Karina, especially. She wants it intimate and personal. But the contract is clear, and the investor is offering to pay for everything. They agree. The night of November 22nd, I'm getting ready in our bedroom. Black dress, heels, professional makeup. Holden thinks I'm attending a client dinner downtown. You look nice, he says, barely glancing up from his laptop. He's probably emailing her about last-minute details. Thanks. New client? Want to make a good impression? You'll be okay with Ivy? Yeah, we're doing movie night. Don't wait up. I won't. Because I'll be at his restaurant opening, watching his face when he realizes who actually owns his dream. Hazel picks me up at 6:30. Rowan meets us there. Felicity arrives separately. All business in a power suit that could intimidate a federal judge. The restaurant looks beautiful. I'll give them that. The space is transformed. Warm lighting, the Korean-Italian fusion aesthetic somehow works. Open kitchen visible from the dining area. It's actually exactly what I would have created if I'd designed it myself. Which, technically, I kind of did. Every major decision has my fingerprints on it. The guest list is about 120 people now. Food critics from Portland Monthly and The Oregonian. Local lifestyle bloggers with significant followings. The kind of opening that can make or break a restaurant before it officially launches. Holden and Karina are working the room, nervous but excited. She's wearing a stunning red dress. He's in a suit I've never seen before. They look like a power couple, greeting guests, accepting congratulations. They have no idea I'm here. I'm standing near the bar with Hazel and Rowan, partially hidden by a decorative screen, watching. At 7:15, Marcus approaches them. I can't hear the conversation from here, but I see Holden's expression shift from pleasant to confused when Marcus starts explaining that the primary investor would like to address the guests. That the primary investor is here tonight. That the primary investor would like to be introduced. Karina looks around the room nervously. Holden's scanning faces, trying to guess who it might be. Some older gentleman in a suit? That elegant woman near the kitchen? The investor has been so mysterious, communicating only through Marcus and contract signatures. Marcus gestures toward me. I step forward, out from behind the screen. Rowan and Hazel flank me like bodyguards. Felicity appears from the other direction. The look on Holden's face is worth every penny I've invested. Confusion first, then recognition, then understanding, then horror. The progression takes maybe 3 seconds, but feels like watching a building collapse in slow motion. Karina sees me next. She's clearly confused about why Holden looks like he's seeing a ghost. She doesn't know who I am yet. We've never met. I walk toward them, heels clicking on the hardwood floor. The room hasn't noticed yet. People are still chatting, drinking, enjoying appetizers. But Holden and Karina are frozen. Hello, honey, I say sweetly when I reach them. Surprise. Mira. His voice barely works. What are you doing here? Well, as the majority investor in Fusion Affair, I thought I should probably attend the opening. I smile at Karina. You must be Karina. I've heard so much about you. I'm Mira, Holden's wife. She goes pale, like actually loses color in her face. Wife, she repeats faintly. Oh, did he not mention that part? I tilt my head sympathetically. Men, so bad at communication. Yes, wife of 12 years, mother of his 9-year-old daughter, and apparently, as of 6 weeks ago, the primary investor in your restaurant. Marcus steps forward with a tablet. Ms. Vaughn holds 51% operational control through Cascade Capital Partners and owns the building through Phoenix Ventures, LLC. All contracts were executed legally and are binding. The room is starting to notice now. Conversations trailing off. People turning to watch. Holden finds his voice. You're Cascade Capital? And Phoenix Ventures. Surprise times 2. I gesture around the restaurant. Beautiful space, isn't it? I'm particularly proud of the kitchen equipment upgrade I insisted on, and the lease terms I negotiated. Below market rate, you'll notice. I'm a very generous landlord. This isn't possible. Karina's voice shakes. The investors were from Seattle. The building owner was some corporation. Both me. Well, technically both my corporate entities, but semantics. I accept a glass of champagne from a passing server. Thank you for signing those contracts, by the way. My attorney said they were bulletproof, but you never know until someone actually signs them. Holden's face cycles through emotions. Why would you do this? Why would I do this? I repeat slowly. Holden, you've been having an affair for 6 months. You created a whole secret business with your affair partner using our joint financial resources. You have a Google Drive folder literally titled, Keep Separate from M. You planned your exit strategy from our marriage like it was a marketing campaign, and you're asking why I would do this? People are definitely listening now. The room is silent except for the background music. I gave you the funding you desperately needed. I continue. I own the building at below market rates that keep your costs down. I've made every business decision better and more profitable. I have literally saved this restaurant from the disaster your original plans would have been. I pause. You're welcome. You can't do this, Karina says. This is our restaurant, our dream. Actually, according to the contracts you both signed, it's our restaurant. You own 32.5% each. I own 51%, which means every decision, every menu change, every vendor contract, it goes through me. I smile. But don't worry, I'm very invested in this restaurant's success. After all, it's my money too. A food critic I recognize from Portland Monthly approaches with a notebook. Ms. Vaughn, can I ask? The restaurant opens officially in 2 weeks, I say clearly, voice carrying. The menu is exceptional. Korean-Italian fusion executed beautifully. The chefs are talented. The space is gorgeous. I'm confident this will be one of Portland's must-visit restaurants. I look at Holden. Despite some complications in the management structure, Felicity steps forward. Additionally, Phoenix Ventures and Cascade Capital have established strict operational oversight. All financial decisions require investor approval. This protects everyone's interests and ensures professional management. Holden's mouth opens and closes. No words come out. Karina looks like she might cry or scream or both. You destroyed everything. No, I correct gently. I invested in everything. There's a difference. This restaurant will succeed. You'll both make money. You'll build your reputations. You just won't have control. I finish my champagne. Consider it a learning experience about reading contracts before signing them. The room erupts into chaos. Some guests are laughing. The critics are taking notes furiously. Someone's definitely filming on their phone. Holden and Karina stand there, destroyed, while their dream opening becomes a viral spectacle. I turn to leave, then pause. Oh, Holden, I'll be staying at Hazel's in Seattle for a while. The house is yours. Ivy and I need some space. You understand? Mira, we'll discuss divorce terms through attorneys. I'm sure it'll all be very civilized. I walk out of the restaurant I own, where my husband built his affair into a business, and step into the Portland night air feeling lighter than I have in months. Behind me, I hear Karina's voice rising. You told me you were separated. Classic. 6 months later. May 15th. Fusion Affair is Portland's hottest new restaurant. 5-star reviews. Wait lists stretching weeks. Featured in Bon Appetit's Best New Restaurants in America list. The Korean-Italian fusion concept that seemed ridiculous on paper is somehow brilliant in execution. Turns out, when you force people to follow sound business practices and hire competent management, restaurants can actually succeed. Who knew? I'm sitting in my new condo in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. Smaller than the Portland house, but mine, completely mine. Reviewing the quarterly financials. My 51% is generating significant returns. Holden and Karina's combined 49% is also doing well. Everyone's making money. They just hate every minute of it. The divorce finalized in March. Holden kept the house. I kept my consulting business and my investment portfolios. We split Ivy's time 50-50, though she's with me most weeks because, surprise, Holden's restaurant schedule doesn't leave much time for parenting. Turns out running a successful restaurant is actual work. Exhausting work. The kind that doesn't leave energy for much else. Karina and Holden are still together, technically. Though according to Rowan, who still has friends in Portland's restaurant scene, the relationship is strained. Building a romance on betrayal and then having it publicly exposed while losing control of your dream project isn't great for long-term relationship health. The restaurant's success is the most delicious irony. Every decision I forced on them, the menu pricing, the vendor selections, the marketing strategy, the operational structure, turned out to be right. They built something remarkable. They just built it in a cage I designed. Marcus sends monthly reports. Holden's professional but cold in all business communications. Karina requested that all investor correspondence go through their attorney instead of directly. I graciously agreed. I'm a very accommodating business partner. Last month, they tried to buy me out, offered me double my investment to sell my shares and walk away. I declined. Not because I need the money. My consulting business is thriving, and I've taken on 3 new major clients since moving to Seattle. I declined because watching them succeed in something I control is its own form of poetry. Also, the restaurant is genuinely profitable. I'm not stupid enough to walk away from good returns. Ivy's doing remarkably well, all things considered. Kids are resilient in ways adults forget. She loves having 2 places, enjoys Seattle's energy, and her grades haven't dropped at all. Last week she told me she wants to be a lawyer like Aunt Hazel when she grows up. I suggested financial consultant instead. She said, "Why not both?" That's my girl. Hazel still thinks the whole thing is the funniest revenge story she's ever heard. She brings it up at family gatherings like people share vacation photos. Remember when Mira bought her husband's affair restaurant? She's currently representing me in some post-divorce property disputes and charges me her standard rates. Sisters are ruthless about business. Rowan's become my Seattle real estate agent and closest confidant in my new city life. She's helping me look at investment properties here. Apparently, once you successfully weaponize real estate against your cheating spouse, you develop a taste for it. The Portland house sold last month. Holden couldn't afford it alone, not with restaurant expenses and child support. It's now owned by a young tech couple with a new baby. I hope they're happy there. I hope their Google calendars only contain actual work meetings. Sometimes people ask if I regret it. The revenge, the complexity, the public humiliation. They expect me to feel guilty or admit it was too harsh. I don't. Here's what I learned. Being underestimated is a strategic advantage. Everyone assumes the practical wife, the numbers person, the one who packs school lunches and balances checkbooks, isn't capable of complex maneuvers. They're wrong. I learned that reading contracts thoroughly is the most powerful skill you can have. 70 pages of legal terminology saved my financial future and my dignity. I learned that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes respect matters more. And when someone shows you through their actions that they don't respect you, believe them, then act accordingly. I learned that revenge doesn't have to be destructive. Sometimes it's constructive. I didn't destroy Holden's restaurant. I made it successful. I just did it on my terms. Most importantly, I learned that the opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference backed by excellent legal counsel and majority ownership. The restaurant sends me dividend checks quarterly. I deposit them into Ivy's college fund. She's 9 now, will be 10 in July. By the time she's 18, her education will be fully funded by her father's affair project. The irony is not lost on me. Last week, Portland Monthly ran a feature on Fusion Affairs' success story. They interviewed Holden and Karina about their vision and partnership. The article briefly mentioned investor oversight, but framed it as standard business practice. My name wasn't mentioned. I'm just silent money in the background, exactly where I want to be. I still consult. I still love numbers and spreadsheets and finding patterns in financial data. But now I also love knowing that boring practical skills can be weaponized when necessary. That being underestimated is a gift. That patience and planning beat impulse and passion every single time. Biscuit's sleeping at my feet. I got him in the divorce, obviously. Ivy's at her friend's house. It's Saturday afternoon in Seattle, and I'm reviewing investment opportunities while drinking good coffee and planning my life without constantly wondering where my husband actually is. This is what freedom looks like. It looks like spreadsheets and quarterly reports. It looks like contractual control disguised as generous investment. It looks like teaching your daughter that when someone tries to write you out of the story, you buy the publishing house. My phone buzzes. A text from Marcus. Q2 projections looking strong. Restaurant exceeding targets. Owners requesting meeting about expansion plans. I smile and respond. Schedule it. I'm very interested in protecting my investment. Because here's the final lesson I learned. You don't have to destroy someone to win. Sometimes you just have to own them. Legally, financially, completely. And if that's petty, then pettiness is just strategic planning with better narrative structure. Welcome to the rest of my life. 51% controlled, 100% mine.